Since the early 1990s, Providence has undergone major growth, what many have called a renaissance. The Providence Place Mall, the Convention Center, Water Place Park, all have helped to bring new life to our city. And today, the growth continues. Several high-rises with offices, residences, shops, and restaurants have dramatically changed the skyline and landscape of the city, as well as its network of streets and highways. I-195 and its connection to I-95 was built in the 1950s, so it should be no surprise that it no longer meets our traffic demands today. Originally designed to accommodate 75,000 vehicles each day, it currently serves more than twice that amount, with a majority of those 150,000 vehicles crisscrossing the I-95-I-195 interchange. The highway has withstood the daily wear and tear, but by today's standards, it has an obsolete design, narrow shoulders, inadequate number and width of lanes, and exit ramps positioned too closely together. Because of these concerns, what was an initial safety improvement study evolved into a major realignment and reconstruction project now known as the I-Way. Based on numerous studies and public hearings, the Rhode Island Department of Transportation and the Federal Highway Administration identified the area south of the hurricane barrier as the best path for the new highway. The I-Way construction project consists of multiple stages to take place over a 12-year period. In future podcasts, we'll learn about other highlights, like the layout of the new highway and its improved traffic flow viewed from a driver's seat in a computer-generated simulation, the construction of the Signature Bridge at Quonset Point and its dramatic arrival by barge to its final resting point in front of the hurricane barrier, improvements to India Point Park and the new pedestrian bridge, and the dramatic new waterfront that will emerge after the old highway is finally demolished and the city's renaissance continues. In our last podcast, we addressed the need for a major realignment of the I-95-I-195 interchange, a 12-year construction project now known as the I-Way. There are many developments that people did not see at the beginning of the project, like the acquisition of almost 80 properties on both sides of the Providence River, along with the successful relocation of those businesses. Several major utilities were relocated as well, including a 136,000-barrel oil tank and 30,000 feet of electrical ducts, gas mains, and high-voltage lines. Then there are developments people will see as construction progresses, such as the new stretch of highway on the east side of the Providence River, the new Signature Bridge with its 3 distinct arches, improvements to India Point Park and the new pedestrian bridge, and the new ramps on the west side of the river, which are easily visible heading north or south on I-95. However, the most important developments will not be seen until the I-Way's completion, new bridges, and improved safety and traffic flow overall. The smooth experience of well-positioned on- and off-ramps and easy access to downtown Providence, the hospitals, and the jewelry district is what matters most to all of us driving through the area. Right now, heading north on I-95 from I-195 is at best challenging for motorists, who must bear right at the split, then navigate immediately to the left lanes in order to merge with 95. Otherwise, they're led directly and almost immediately onto the exit ramp for Broadway. The new ramp will also feature a split, but this time it will connect drivers farther to the south, where they will avoid having to immediately maneuver around other motorists taking the Broadway exit, giving them much more time and distance to safely merge with 95 overall. Heading south on I-95 from I-195 presents a similar challenge for motorists. Today, drivers bear left at the split and then must cross up to 4 lanes of traffic within a few hundred yards to exit for Eddy Street or Allens Avenue and direct access to the hospitals. The new ramp from I-195 to I-95 South will feature a long and straight stretch of road that eventually merges on the right side of the highway and will provide a direct exit for the hospitals along the way, a safer alternative that requires almost no lane changes. But the biggest ramp change planned for motorists may be the new access to I-195 East from I-95 South. Currently, drivers heading south must cross multiple lanes to access the split's sharp left-hand exit. The new access ramp will begin prior to the Point Street overpass as a right-hand exit, pass under Point Street, and then arc high above the highway and other ramps, and travel on the new Signature Bridge towards East Providence and Massachusetts. Meanwhile, hospital access from I-95 South will become much simpler. A new exit ramp will connect directly to the hospital area from the highway just north of the Point Street overpass. Drivers taking the ramp can either turn right toward the hospital parking lots or continue onto Eddy Street. In our next podcast, we'll show key preparations for construction of the Signature Bridge and its assembly at Quonset Point. Stay tuned. Last time, we highlighted the key traffic flow improvements motorists can expect when I-Way construction is complete, including well-positioned on- and off-ramps through the interchange and easier access to the hospitals, the Jewelry District, and downtown Providence. But the most eye-catching result of I-Way construction may just be the new blue-green bridge, which crowns a 1,200-foot span across the Providence River. With more than 5 million pounds of steel, fabrication of the bridge arches began in the fall of 2005 at a steelworkers facility in Connecticut, where all the initial preparations took place. Welding and painting the bridge indoors provided a convenient work environment and eliminated any possibility of delays caused by inclement weather. Construction continued right through the winter. By the spring, the completed parts of the bridge were transported by truck to the Davisville Pier at Quonset Point in North Kingstown. Erecting the bridge at Quonset rather than its final location in front of the hurricane barrier posed several advantages. Quonset provided sufficient and convenient space to operate heavy machinery and position sections of the bridge into their proper places, whereas undertaking such a task so close to the existing hurricane barrier and over the Providence River would have presented significant limitations and challenges. In addition, Quonset provided an ideal location for the bridge to be transported in its entirety by barge to its final location up the bay. Transporting the bridge by any other means posed extreme logistical challenges. The bridge's design is unique in that it uses 3 network arches rather than 2 in order to support its large width, totaling almost 170 feet. It is the widest network arch bridge in the world. A network of steel cables and inclined hangers that intersect at least twice span the arches, giving them superior strength. In all, the bridge consists of 47,000 bolts and 1 mile of cable. Known as a Nielsen-Losi bridge, it is a design used largely in Japan and Europe because of its superior structural form as well as its aesthetic appeal. That is perhaps why federal highway administrators, DOT officials, and the public unanimously approved the design right down to its color, blue-green, which reflects Rhode Island's nautical heritage and the bridge's final position atop Narragansett Bay. In our next podcast, we'll show you the very careful process of floating 2,500 tons of steel up the bay for more than 12 miles. Thanks to effective planning, fabricating the I-Way bridge indoors and then erecting it at Quonset Point proved a smooth and successful process. The real work, however, had only just begun. Floating a structure weighing roughly 2,500 tons 12 miles up Narragansett Bay required, shall we say, some painstaking preparations. The first step required raising the bridge to a height of 30 feet, using massive hydraulic jacks at each end of the bridge's beams. The bridge needed the height to clear concrete piers upon which it would rest at the end of its journey. Once lifted, it was then placed onto several remote-controlled transporters, essentially oversized dollies, that rolled the bridge onto two 300-foot barges positioned alongside the pier. The barges were connected in the middle by two 100-foot sections of crane booms. Transferring the bridge onto the barges was a complex process by itself. The challenge was keeping the barges level with the pier despite the effects of the tide, not to mention keeping them from sinking under the huge weight of the bridge as it inched aboard. Proper buoyancy was achieved by pumping just the right amount of water ballast into and out of the right sections of the barges at just the right times. The bridge was rolled onto the barges sideways so that it would arrive in Providence in position to be placed onto its concrete piers, which crossed the river from east to west. With the bridge overhanging each end slightly, the entire structure resembled a giant catamaran. 4 tugboats guided the oversized load, 2 pushing from behind and 2 pulling and steering from the front. Once underway, the bridge cruised majestically up the bay and with much fanfare. The trip was so smooth that it arrived hours ahead of schedule, an event that took roughly 3 hours total. The final hurdle required positioning the 3 arches precisely over their respective piers and using the falling tide to slowly drop the bridge into place. Workers had to carefully align metal plates on the bottom of each arch end with holes cast on the tops of their respective piers, where large bolts would be put through to fasten the two together. In the next podcast, we'll show you improvements planned for India Point Park and the new pedestrian bridge connecting the park to the east side over I-195. As you saw in our last podcast, the I-Way's signature bridge was floated and fastened to the new stretch of I-195 just south of the hurricane barrier. Put simply, I-195 will now take a more direct path toward I-95 and the hospitals starting just west of the Washington Bridge. However, this straight path will require a few changes and improvements along the way. Motorists traveling east on I-195 will no longer take exit 1 for downtown Providence. Following that, the Wickenden Street and Gano Street exits will merge into the new India Street exit with both on and off ramps that will flow parallel to India Street, separated by islands and new landscaping that will provide access to India Point Park. Residents of Fox Point and other citizens expressed concerns about changes to India Point Park and an increase in traffic volume nearby. Many also provided suggestions to improve the park beyond its current state. One concern was a lack of adequate parking during soccer matches and other outdoor events, which restricted traffic flow on India Street to 1 lane. In response, India Street will be moved away from the park to provide 30,000 additional square feet for parking lots. The additional space will also accommodate more trees and landscaping, another suggestion from citizens, which includes the islands that will be used to calm traffic and to serve as a buffer between the park and on- and off-ramp access. Similar landscape improvements were made to the waterfront walkways for the benefit of pedestrians and cyclists. It will all surround a newly constructed pedestrian bridge, which will become the visual centerpiece of the park. Citizens stressed the importance of this pedestrian access to the park and also requested that the new bridge be wider than the old. The new bridge design expands the width to 50 feet, almost 5 times wider, along with new landscaping both on the bridge itself and in the surrounding area. Overall, the changes to India Point Park are meant to preserve as well as expand and enhance the value of the park and its position on the waterfront. The I-Way project will have a similar impact on the Providence River and its waterfront within the hurricane barrier toward downtown. As part of the I-Way's last stage, demolition of the old highway will open up more than 35 acres of land on the waterfront. Watch our next podcast to find out what city leaders and citizens are proposing for how that new land should be used. New bridges and improved safety and traffic flow are not the only ways we'll all benefit from the I-Way project. That's because demolition of the old stretch of I-195, which now divides downtown Providence from the Jewelry District, will, in effect, open up more than 35 acres of land alongside the Providence waterfront. It will become prime property and a prime opportunity for the city of Providence to further expand its reach beyond the heart of Down City. This area along the waterfront is known as the Old Harbor District. With the relocation of I-195, the city's plans for Old Harbor call for the reconnection of neighborhoods, reestablishment of historical streets, introduction of waterfront parks and greenways, and mixed-use redevelopment. Plans for this area have been in development for well over a decade in conjunction with the I-Way project and continue to evolve with input from citizens, elected officials, city planners, business owners, and the Department of Transportation. However, the overarching goals for the development of Old Harbor are clear: to successfully reconnect the Jewelry District with the waterfront and Down City, to support Providence's mission to become a living city, where people not only work and shop, but live, to establish public parks, open space, and access along the waterfront, and to promote development that complements the existing fabric of the waterfront while providing much-needed tax revenue. All of these elements must come together to ensure Providence's growth, elements that promote revitalization, safety, and access for everyone, the very core of the I-Way project. The I-Way will become one of the most impressive public works accomplishments in Rhode Island's history. It has required many years of planning and coordination between federal highway officials, state transportation officials, state congressional leaders, city officials, engineers, architects, citizens, and others. It has involved multiple stages of construction and the efforts of hundreds of workers. It has included the construction of a bridge weighing 5 million pounds and floating it more than 12 miles up Narragansett Bay. It features the redevelopment of India Point Park and its pedestrian bridge connecting the east side. It will involve the demolition of the old span of I-195 and open up more than 35 acres of waterfront property. And it will mean safer travel to our jobs, our hospitals, and our homes. The scope of the I-Way project goes beyond new bridges, ramps, and traffic flow for motorists traveling to and around Providence. It is more than just a new highway interchange. The I-Way will literally transform the city's waterfront and how we access it. It will become a new gateway to the heart of our state's commerce and improve our quality of life here in the Ocean State.